Yet another day of Malayalam cinema attempting something crazy. Now it has its flaws, which we'll talk about, but you just cannot stay back from appreciating them for trying to pull it off. So let's talk about Sambavam, Adhyayam, Onnu. Written and directed by Jeetu Sathisan. Now I've learned that this film is based on a short film they made before, which right now is not available anywhere. Now I didn't see the trailer for it, I wanted to go in blank, but I got a lot of recommendations on every platform to check it out, and because of that, the genre of the film got spoiled for me. People used certain terms to describe the film, which gave me a brief idea of what to expect. Now in this video, there'll be no spoilers. That's why I took my time to make a review where I can talk about the film without revealing anything from the plot. Now the highlight of this film is its concept, and they do a good job of rooting it in their own mythology. Now the film is a mystery thriller, but I like that they don't waste any time to get into it. There is no unnecessary long setup to get you into the world. You straight away get into it. From the first frame to the last frame, the mystery just keeps evolving. And also it's not too simple or basic. It gets quite complex, and that's why you have to be on your toes. You'll be wondering what's really going on, and it can get frustrating, but you need to have patience. Now I can say most of the film takes place in the forest, and practically that is a big challenge which they pulled off, and they've captured it really well. They create this mood of suspense. The sound design is brilliant, the music is very chilling and haunting, and there's definitely a big influence from something which I cannot reveal here because it will spoil it, but I can say it's well done. Now the narrative this film is telling is something that I've witnessed many times before. So for me, the wow factor is not in the concept itself. I'm sure someone who's experiencing a story like this for the first time will be blown away, but when you have consumed it in different way or form, you need something more that makes it impactful. For example, take a movie like Avatar. Like the first time we saw those insane visuals, a whole CGI world, you're just blown away by it. But then watching something similar again later will not blow your mind. Forget something else, the sequels to that film. Okay, the second film had the water aspect, so it also looked beautiful. But with the third film, yes, the visuals look great and everything, but it has to be the storytelling, which is not that great, which is very repetitive. So the awe and wonder you had watching the first or second film is not really there for the third film. At least that's what I went through. And that's why the concept of the film was not enough to, blow my mind. It had to be through the execution too. Now, it is a very difficult film to pull off. It is a challenge, there's no denying it. And that's why them trying it is praiseworthy. But it's the execution that cements the craft of filmmaking. That's where the issues come in. And this film had two types of them. Type 1 of the issue is the flaws in the execution they did. And type 2 is the flaws due to the absence of certain elements. So let's start with type 1. The editing of the film, I was not a big fan of it. From the start of the film, the editing pattern didn't click for me, and the editing overall of the film was very loose. The film could be trimmed more to make it precise and tight. And that actually leads to the direction of the film. There are a lot of empty build-ups in the narrative, random jump scares. There are very long close-up shots of characters in shock, and they just take too long to actually show us why they are shocked. Those moments are just dragged with that dramatic music. And that doesn't happen once or twice, it just happens too often throughout the film. And when we actually see the reason, it's not even worth that reaction. And that's where I felt that the makers are very uncertain if the audience will understand what they're trying to do. It almost felt like through these sequences, they're trying to tell the audience, oh, this is a big reveal, this is a big moment. And that felt like spoon feeding, which you don't expect from Malayalam cinema. Like literally later in the film, there's a whole scene of exposition dump which just tells you everything what's going on. It just lays out everything in detail. And after that, there's no mystery left anymore, it just kills it. Now also the plot for me at least was very predictable. I saw a lot of twists and turns coming, and that is not a problem, but it's not a good thing that the audience is ahead of the film. It should be the other way around. And in the climax portions, they try to build this tension which just didn't land for me. The execution of it all was very poor and just too random. I really felt that they had the content which is really good, something very different for not just Malayalam cinema but for Indian cinema, but they just needed a good structure to fully utilize their potential. Now the acting in the film was very subpar, and not to throw shade at the cast, I know it's a hard film, not just to make but also to perform it. But apart from the main lead, which I think gets something writing wise, no one else was convincing enough, especially the foreign actors. And that brings me to type 2 of the issue. The characters in the story were very vague, were very one-dimensional. They seriously lacked some characteristics that make them stand out. The depth was totally missing, and that's why you cannot connect with them. Now we don't know if the writing was not good enough, that's why the actors wouldn't perform that well, or the writing of the characters were very basic and it was dependent on the actors to make something out of it. That's a debate we can always have. The thing is, when you have such a high concept narrative, You need your characters to be rooted so that we can connect with them. Because the concept itself is so unfamiliar to us that we're not able to connect with that. So we need something familiar to stick to the narrative. And the film has elements that try to do that, but it just doesn't land. That human emotional core is missing. The film had a lot riding on a personal relationship in the film, but I never felt it. It may have clicked on the paper, but not on the screen. Now, with all that said, I don't want to discourage anyone. I'm not trying to, pan the film. I know there's a very young team behind this film. They are inexperienced, and they will definitely learn as they go about. But as much as I love the concept, them trying to pull it off, I also need to mention the issues I had. Now, the title of the film says Chapter 1, and there are a lot of questions left unanswered in the film. But in a way, they kind of wrap up the story too. So it doesn't feel that the story is left midway. But definitely there could be more to it. And there are a lot of cool things in the film to talk about, which we'll do in the spoiler segment. So do comment below if you want that. And also, subscribe.